Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are unlocking literally 3,000 years of jungle history. We're going to dive deep into Dan Snow's history hit documentary to bust some major historical myths and uncover the incredible, mind-blowing truth hidden away in the dense jungles of Belize.
Okay, let's dive into this. Did the ancient Maya really just vanish into thin air? I mean, if you go by the hyper-dramatic Hollywood version, you'd probably think they were this enigmatic, short-lived empire that built an apocalyptic calendar and then just mysteriously disappeared. Kind of like the popular myths floating around the Aztecs or Incas, right? But the truth? Well, it's radically different.
We really have to separate this myth of a sudden disappearance and this whole idea of primitive jungle life from the staggering reality. The Maya were actually an astonishingly urbanized, interconnected network of independent kingdoms. They didn't just flash in the pan. They flourished and survived for an unbroken span of over 3 millennia. 3,000 years?
To get a real sense of what this actually looked like, we have to travel deep into western Belize to a site called Caracol. Now, for centuries, this massive metropolis was completely invisible. It was just swallowed whole by dense jungle. Early explorers literally walked right over it, thinking its giant stone structures were just natural rolling hills. It wasn't until the 1980s that pioneering archaeologists, Drs. Arlen and Diane Chase, truly began uncovering its incredible scale.
At its absolute peak, around 650 CE, Caracol stretched across an unbelievable 200 square kilometers. To put that into perspective, that makes it vastly larger than modern-day Belize City. And it wasn't just big, it was a highly integrated sprawl city. Unlike other ancient cities that had these walled-off, exclusive elite enclaves, Caracol had all different social classes living side by side.
And get this metropolis sustained an urban population of over 100,000 people. What makes that so mind-blowing is that Caracol is situated deep within a jungle, totally isolated from any major rivers. Seriously, think about that for a second. How do you feed and provide fresh water for 100,000 people in the middle of a dense, riverless jungle? But before we answer how they pulled that off, you really have to picture the sheer scale of their architecture. The excavated downtown core is completely dominated by Caana, which translates to sky place. Standing at 141 feet tall, this breathtaking palace temple isn't just an ancient wonder. It actually remains the tallest building in all of Belize today. No way, right?
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how they actually sustained everyone. They were master environmental engineers. They utilized thousands of agricultural terraces and a practice called night soiling. Yep, it is exactly what it sounds like, recycling human waste into high-phosphorus fertilizer. It's slightly gross, sure, but it was a brilliantly effective way to terraform the landscape and generate exceptionally fertile soils out of some really challenging terrain.
So we're talking about a highly sophisticated society, and the discoveries just keep coming. After 40 years of digging, Diane Chase unveiled a pristine open-air royal tomb tucked right beneath a residential terrace wall. And inside, she found this extraordinary treasure, a life-sized royal death mask, meticulously crafted from jadeite and shell.
You see, in Maya culture, jade wasn't just some pretty material. It was a highly sacred gemstone representing the immortal soul, and was practically synonymous with water. But here's the kicker. Jade does not occur naturally in Belize. This single find proves that the Maya had established massive, complex trade routes stretching hundreds of miles away, reaching deep into the Motagua River Valley of Guatemala. Thanks to the elaborate logosyllabic script found right there in the tomb, which experts really only started decoding late in the 20th century, by the way, we know exactly whose mask that was. It belonged to Tikab Chahk, the legendary founding king who established Caracol's royal dynasty way back in 331 CE. From his founding to the city's peak around 650 CE, right up to the Great Climate Crisis, Caracol has this incredible documented timeline. But the Maya world wasn't just about what was built above ground. In the documentary, local archaeologist Rafael Guerra guides the team deep into the restricted, underground limestone caverns of Belize. To the ancient Maya, this subterranean world was a highly sacred liminal zone. It was considered the literal womb of Mother Earth and the gateway to the supernatural underworld.
Down in the dark of these caverns, teams have found ancient stone altars surrounded by millennia-old offerings. But as severe environmental crises and prolonged droughts pushed the Maya to the absolute edge of survival, these rituals became increasingly grim. There's haunting evidence here of the ultimate sacrifice, offering high-status individuals to the dark, and a desperate final bid to appease the rain gods.
And that brings us to one of the grandest historical mysteries of all, the Great Collapse, between 800 and 950 CE. For decades, popular history framed this as the abrupt end of the Maya. But we really need to shift that narrative entirely. It wasn't a sudden, mysterious vanishing act. It was a period of intense, climate-induced destabilization that required immense resilience to navigate.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. You can see this survival in action when you compare inland supercities like Caracol to coastal cities like Lamanai, which translates to submerged crocodile, funnily enough. While Caracol buckled under those severe droughts, Lamanai actually thrived. Why? Because they had access to a massive freshwater lagoon. In fact, Lamanai survived right up to the arrival of European explorers.
So, what did the people in those failing inland cities actually do? Well, they certainly didn't just wait around to disappear. They enacted this incredible survival strategy. First, they took serious political action, overthrowing the rulers who failed to conjure the rain they had promised. Second, they migrated to areas with reliable water sources. And third, they actively reshaped and rebuilt their entire society. Which brings us to the ultimate plot twist of this entire explainer. The Maya never left. Seriously, the whole narrative of a lost, dead civilization is just entirely false. They weathered the storm, they adapted, and they continued right on going.
Today, Maya descendants still make up over 10% of modern Belize's population. 10%! That is a profound testament to their sheer endurance, their amazing adaptability, and their total refusal to be erased by a changing climate.
And this isn't just about genetics either. It is a vibrant, living cultural legacy. Today, you can literally witness modern Maya families grinding corn on metate stones that have been passed down through 4 generations. They are still preparing elite cacao drinks. They're even still playing Pak Tapuk, which is widely recognized as the oldest team sport in the world. It is a magnificent, unbroken 3,000-year survival story.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. What does it truly mean for a civilization to fall versus adapt? The story of the Maya challenges everything we think we know about historical collapses. They didn't vanish into thin air. They evolved, they engineered, and they survived. Thanks so much for joining me as we unpack these secrets, and I really hope this leaves you looking at history in a completely new light.